earlier yesterday, on the Twitter side of things, tweeted this out. This particular account had was talking about some harassment that's going on between English VAs for Hoyoverse games. Hoyoverse being the studio behind Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Honkai Impact III, and Zenless Zone Zero. Hoyoverse English VA is continuing to prove they're awful people. Lamau, Paimon's English VA, is directing hate to the new VA for Kinich because he took the role of someone who was on strike. God forbid someone takes a job to put food on the table. Shaming him publicly is wild. Been hearing some rumblings for the time about this sort of behavior, and so I just have chimed in and said, from now on, whenever I stream Hoyoverse games like Genshin or Star Rail or Zenless, I'm going to do it entirely with Japanese, Chinese, or Korean VA tracks. I admit it is not going to amount to much. I am just a small VTuber. But I'm not going to reward unprofessional behavior from Hoyo's English VAs by featuring their work on my streams. There was one particular respondent that has been blocked by me because they're obviously a disingenuous person, and they're also a degenerate brony. That was, calling me a scab and saying I lack empathy and compassion, and I'm like, bro, you know absolutely nothing about me. I know exactly what these VAs go through, and I know that because I've seen it happen, and worse, because I was in the business for a long time, and yes, my radio work counts as show business. Believe me, I've had to deal with some of the most abusive personality types at both the talent and at the management level. So yeah, there were days where I and others were just being absolutely screamed at by the worst sorts of prima donnas who think that they're hot shit just because they've been, the weatherman on the radio for 20 years, or they've been, some sort of hotshot program director in New York or LA or Chicago, and they think that it's okay to come in and scream at people and curse them out over, little things that don't really amount to much in the long run. So yeah, I know a thing or two about that. I also know about being grossly underpaid for my work, even if you are a union talent. When executives at these companies are making millions of dollars, meanwhile you are stuck at like $14 or $15 an hour for several years. It's... Yeah, I know a thing or two about the struggles of talent in this business. So the fact that they're saying I don't understand or I lack empathy somehow, I know exactly what these people are going through. But one person claiming that they're on strike, if sane only made it so, unfortunately it does not. A strike is when people organize into a union and vote to go on strike, and the members actually do go on strike until certain conditions are met by their employer. This is not a strike. This is certain individual talents having a temper tantrum very publicly, and they are being very unprofessional about it as well. These are people who are young and stupid and have not been around the block like I have. If they had, they would know this is not how you deal with this sort of thing. You want a higher wage, you hire an agent or an attorney to negotiate that thing on your behalf. You don't negotiate it in public on Twitter, having little walls of text rants and whatnot. And furthermore, you don't slide into my replies and think that you somehow know shit. just because, oh, you're standing with these talents, and anyone who says otherwise is a scab and blah blah blah. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. You are nothing and you are nobody, and no one is going to remember you or your body of work. And let's just be absolutely fucking real here. The Japanese talent that replaced Kinich, the voice for Kinich, don't fucking sit there and tell me that there's not American talent or anyone else anywhere in the world who wouldn't do the exact same damn thing to upstage you and to get a shot at fame and money. You acting like this is not somehow a cutthroat business that we're in, where everyone to some degree is in competition with each other, you are either a liar or you are grossly naive. Maybe a little bit of both. And let's throw in a dash of utterly stupid while we're at it. The only... Oh, damn, the VA protest, Lamau. Yeah, this. Watched my first anime. Well done, Nox. The only VA that I know is doing it sort of right are the ones striking Bungie for unfair treatment and pay, and they're going through legal avenues and such. Yes. Now that is how you do it. That's how you do it the proper way. This thing that's going on with Hoyoverse, this is a temper tantrum by spoiled, petulant children masquerading as adults who happen to have some somewhat fairly decent gigs in terms of exposure. The ENVO scene is just a mess, especially when it's obviously a huge clique. It really is. It's always been a fairly close-knit group of people within certain spheres in New York, Los Angeles, and to a certain extent in Texas, because so many of the English distributors moved out to Texas for tax reasons. And plus, it's also an open shop state where you don't have to hire union labor. I don't know what happened to Funimation Crew since that company dissolved, but it seems to be growing, which is good. Yeah, but for a long time, unless you were part of that, and even to a certain extent still, unless you're part of that clique of people who have the right gender pronouns and the right rainbow flag symbols and virtue signal in all the right ways, you're not going to get a job. Just like in Hollywood for the longest time, if you were, not gay or a Scientologist or, have some sort of weird sexual proclivity, or, you were of a certain religion, you were not getting in. Or if you did not go through the whole casting couch process with the Harvey Weinsteins of Hollywood, you were not going to get the choice parts. A lot of that still goes on to this day. It will probably continue on. I was just never willing to play that game, so a lot of these parts were closed off to me. Objectively speaking, and from a moral standpoint, it is wrong. But that's just the sort of reality that we face. I'm not going to engage in gay butt sex with some sort of executive at a dubbing studio or somewhere in Hollywood to get a part. I don't want to be famous that badly. I'm not going to convert from Christianity to some other faith or to some other cult and give you money just because that's all you really care about. I'm not going to engage in that sort of quid pro quo. I'm also not going to alter my personal philosophy and political beliefs just to make you happy, and I'm not going to signal my virtue on things that I disagree with, and honestly, at the end of the day, I really don't give a shit about. I'm here to do a job. I'm here to utilize my talents to do a fucking job. So give me a script, turn the microphones on, turn on the recording equipment, and let's get to work. O great Rexworth, how art thou, mine honourable gentleman? Fired up, Butcheroo, but welcome in, nevertheless. As long as I don't have to hear Monocreole or Jamie Marchi's voice, I'm good. Yeah, though those two and a few other people, I would call them the people who have a hate boner for Vic Mignogna. All of that lot, they don't belong in the business anymore. And I've met a lot of these people in person. I've, had the I've had the pleasure of, sitting down to lunch with them and talking with them, and learning about the business from them. And a lot of them started out as consummate professionals, but something happened along the way to where they just got it in their heads that somehow we are interested in their political opinions, somehow that we are interested in, what they think of other people who are different from them, and they've somehow got it in their head that that it's okay to hate certain individuals because they rub you the wrong way. And I think a lot of that with the sort of anti-Vic hatred, I saw it even back in the mid to late 2000s with these people. There was very much a strong dislike of Vic Mignogna. Met him on several occasions at anime conventions. Lovely man. Very, very kind to everyone. Very friendly. And just, for whatever reason, that just rubbed other people there the wrong way. And you could tell. A lot of these people did not keep their contempt very well hidden for him. And I saw it back then. Did not know it would ever lead to what we saw with Vic Gate and people trying to Me Too him and trying to cancel him. But hey, there it is. And this is where we're at now. But yeah, a small clique of people, unless you were really good friends with them, and unless you signaled the right sort of virtues and had the right sort of beliefs and the right proper gender pronouns on your profile, you were not getting in. You were not getting into any of that business. And a lot of these people, you examine their lives, personal lives, a lot of them were a mess. Mentally speaking, especially the female VAs, they were just an absolute hot mess. But a lot of these people were not successful in the sense that you might think. Some of them earned a decent living from what they did, but a lot of these people were having to work multiple jobs and get multiple gigs, not out of a love for the craft, but because if they didn't do that, they would not have enough money to pay their bills. So don't think of these people as incredibly successful to the point where they are buying up McMansions and, having multiple cars and being able to live a life of luxury. Working as a VA artist does not pay that well. At most, it will pay you enough to be in a comfortable middle-class lifestyle. And the residuals are not as big as you might think. A lot of these people are still having to go out and get part-time jobs. Do you have a question, Rex? Do you think the issue of possibly being cancelled in today's day and age? Is it possible to live by both one's convictions and keep one's job? If not, would you rather keep yourself and lose your job, or keep your job and lose yourself? I think one has to exercise wisdom, Potteru. One has to hide the power levels. one can think as they like but behave like others. Or one can be completely and totally unassuming. But you have to know when is the right time to speak and when is the right time to shut up. So many people in this world never pass up an opportunity to speak their mind, and they have every right to do so. But I think what's even wiser, an even wiser person, never misses an opportunity to just shut the fuck up. Because sometimes the more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish. Do apologize for the hard question. Do not apologize for that. It is a very valid question. But I do believe, yes, it is possible to live by both one's convictions and keep one's job. Is it easy? No. It can be quite difficult sometimes. Seems we both share the same sentiment, yes. There are many things I believe which I shall never say, but I tend not to say things that I don't believe in. There's a time and place for everything. Silence is a strong sign of wisdom. Yes. It's sort of like that old adage of never interrupt your opponent when they are making a fatal mistake. Someone wants to utterly destroy themselves by doing something stupid. If they're a friend, I may step in and say, you are about to make a terrible, horrible mistake. Please stop this. But if they are someone who is a person that I don't regard as a friend, or possibly even as an enemy, who don't have my best interest at heart and would gladly destroy me the first chance they got, I'm not going to interrupt them while they make a mistake. I'm just going to stand back and watch. Because they do the same thing to me. No, I take the philosophy of I reward my friends and I punish my enemies. Simple as. But yeah, good comments from a lot of good people. A confused coast over here. If any of you are looking for VTubers over on Rumble to follow, please go follow Coast. They are really, really good. In fact, we can pull up their profile here. Yeah. Search Confused Coast over on Rumble, and you'll find them. An excellent VTuber. Friend of Zatras. All of which are lovely, lovely people. Also have Kura Isagami chiming in here. I'm of the opinion their behavior is only proving to international studios never hire American VAs for roles. Which is sad because there's a lot of really good American VAs and budding VAs out there who would be perfect for these roles. They just seem to be picking all the wrong people. Understand why they're striking, but they can make a stand and still be adults about it. Precisely. The behavior I've seen is nothing short of pure bullying. Yeah. That's all it is. And slightly off topic for me, but back in the day, a lot of these Japanese and Chinese studios for movies and television, when they wanted to do English dubs for their productions, like the Godzilla films of the Heisei era from the 80s and the 90s, they would not reach out to American film studios or production companies to get this sort of thing done. They would instead go over to studios in Hong Kong and hire Hong Kong VAs to do their English dubs. And I think they're still doing that to this day. It started out originally due to a logistical thing and technological limitations at the time. Hong Kong was closer, and so it was just easier from a logistic and distance standpoint for them to do that. Didn't have high-speed internet at the time, so can't transmit audio files over high-speed fiber optic lines. So they would have to actually record on tape and then ship the tapes back over to Japan to sync up with for the English dub version of the film, and then that would go out to the rest of the world for those who were licensed to distribute it. But I love that work. Mainly because a lot of those Hong Kong VAs had accents very similar to my own. But also, they were just damn good at their work. It was a small little handful of VA artists, you could tell. But they were just so damn good. Really, really good. And so perhaps it's time that that Japanese and Chinese studios just sort of revisit that idea of, yeah, you know what? Why don't we look into the Hong Kong market and see what we can get in terms of talent there, English-speaking talent there. Because the juice is not worth the squeeze trying to get American or Canadian talents to do this work for us. Always better to keep negative comments to yourself, otherwise you end up getting called out. I mean, there's legitimate criticisms that can be leveled on certain things. It really depends on the subject and whether or not you're knowledgeable in the subject, whether or not you have anything to contribute. I don't tweet out too often unless I really have something interesting to say, or unless I, think something that I have to say would add to the global dialogue. So I always try to keep things rather measured. There are some days when I'll tweet out a lot of things, and then there's some days where it's just going to be short videos of content, or, hey, I'm streaming now. Hey, here's the VODs, by the way, in case you missed the stream. Hiro Hay's got something about that. And, by the way, cheers to Hiro Hay, because he was the one who introduced me to Inatsu Shiroi, my senpai, who ultimately helped me get my start in VTubing. So let's take a look at this video from Hiro Hay about what's going on with the absolute state of the English VA scene.
Hope you guys are having a great week, and thank you for tuning in. So a few weeks ago, you may have seen a video I made talking about English voice actors, specifically SAG-AFTRA union members, and how we can see across the internet that public perception has been shifting against those union voice actors more and more. Many people criticizing the actions of SAG-AFTRA and their members. Interestingly enough, I actually had two different union voice actors come to the comment section of that video angry with the video. But to one VA's credit, she actually deleted her comment after only a few hours of posting it. Probably realized it was a bad move to make that comment, that the stuff she was trying to say about my video was incorrect, and that she was really only making the union VAs look worse. And so I won't be naming that voice actress, but there is another voice actress, the second one who came to my comment section, and her comment is still there. Let's take a look at this. Allegedly from this English voice actress, Cher Kirby says, "This video is full of misinformation. If you're not a member of SAG-AFTRA, maybe don't make videos like this. Thanks."
Yeah, I'm not a member of SAG-AFTRA. I'll make whatever content I like. And so will Hiro Hay, to his credit. It's like, no. Just because you don't have SAG-AFTRA membership doesn't mean you can't speak on something like that. Juanina May, thank you for redeeming Not First. Also, hello.
I got a response from only 17 hours ago, actually, that reads, "So you're not allowed to talk about an issue if you're not a member of the protection racket being called out? That's not how it works." Now, interestingly enough, there's a post on the Genshin Impact subreddit from only 7 hours ago calling out the recent actions of Cher Kirby. We're not going to read that just yet, though, because I'd like to give you all the context, because this whole situation involves many more people than just Sheriff Kirby, as so many people on the internet right now are calling out union voice actors
we
overall,
need to
including
go back
SAG
and
after
read that.
itself. Many people context, because this whole
That's one of the most unprofessional resignations I've ever seen. If I was a voice caster for any other field of work, I'd probably not hire her based on this alone. It's so unprofessional and going into unhinged territory. Yeah. This stupid woman, she does not... I guess it just doesn't compute with her that casting directors, producers, they're going to see this sort of behavior, this sort of public behavior, and they're just going to think, yeah, she's not worth this sort of trouble. If she's going to run her mouth on all of these on these sorts of things, we're just not going to work with her. We're just not going to work with her. We're going to ghost her. We're not going to return her phone calls. We're not going to return her emails. We're not even going to consider her for any work in the future. And later on, I mean, she's probably never going to learn the lesson because, you know, she doesn't seem capable of perceiving breakfast like that, and is going to blame it on some sort of ism in the business, racism, sexism, something, who knows.
Situation involves many more people.
Corporate liability, yes, there's the good term for it.
So many people on the internet right now are calling out union voice actors overall, including SAG after itself. So I'll give you the context about what started all that over the last...
Yeah, and to be fair, I have no issue with unions. I think they serve an important purpose in many sectors of the economy. You know, I have nothing but respect for members of the auto unions, for example. If you're an auto union worker, if you're a member of some sort of trade union, they serve a very good purpose, because we know damn well that the corporate overlords would try to get away with paying them an absolute pittance, slave labor wages, essentially, if they could get away with it. And the unions are there to hold these people accountable and to fight for better wages and benefits for their members. And so in that sense, they serve a very important purpose, and I absolutely am 100% behind that sort of thing. And the same thing with artists' unions as well. The essential function of that is to have better working conditions, better wages, and better benefits for the members. But this sort of behavior, SAG-AFTRA has got a problem. SAG-AFTRA has got a problem. This is making not just that industry look bad. This is making their union look bad, and they really need to get a handle on this. Perhaps it's time for a brand new union, an alternative to SAG-AFTRA. Unions can be good, but are also another corruptible form of management. This is very true. There are some unions out there that are so incredibly corrupt that you just know that they're in the interest of enriching themselves at the expense of the people that they're supposed to serve. I mean, witness public sector unions, teachers unions, that sort of thing.
24 hours or so. And it all begins here on March 26th. This post with now 2.9 million plus views over on Twitter from voice actor Jacob Takanashi makes this announcement about how he's joining Genshin Impact as a new voice actor, saying, "Role announcement. I'm honored to join the English cast of Genshin Impact as the voice of Kinnick. Taking up the mantle of Malipo is a privilege, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to carry the flame from the previous flame bearer, John, who did an incredible job. Those are big shoes to fill, and I promise to give it my all, out of respect for him, for Hoyoverse, and for you, the fans. Thank you to Diana for their amazing direction and for helping me navigate the intricacies of this incredible game, and to Side Tokyo and Hoyoverse for the honor of bringing Kinnick to life."
Enriching themselves with no concern for others and likely working to not get fired. Yeah. Making it so that you can't really get rid of them, which public sector employees is damn near impossible to get rid of them.
I'm deeply grateful for the privilege of entertaining you all. However, in the responses, we can see a number of voice actors getting very upset at Jacob Takanashi. Comments from Western voice actors, such as Kaylee Mills, saying, "This is actually kinda diabolical. If you need the money, at least take the role uncredited. This just comes off as an easy grab for clout. It's not a good look.
Take the role uncredited? Darling, that's not how this works. And don't talk to me about diabolical behavior. This show business is a cutthroat world. If you think for 1 second someone would not throw you under the bus or stab you in the back to get your choice parts, you are deluding yourself, or you're just straight up lying to yourself and other people. There's a huge difference between working to get the job done and working to not get fired, yeah. Though for a lot of places and a lot of employers these days, there's sadly very little difference. It's one of those things where you can get the job done, and yet you're still in danger of losing your job. Because you're just seen as an obstacle to making big line go up and making shareholders happy.
Valerie Rodriguez leaving a number of thumbs down. Stephanie Shet saying, there are many reasons why roles get recast. I personally draw the line when the original actor is holding out because they are fighting for better work conditions. I've refused...
Then maybe don't go to work for a Chinese company. I mean, what the fuck did you think was going to happen? It is no workers' paradise there. There's plenty of Chinese companies that make Japanese black companies look like monasteries of saints. And all of it, the usual suspects here. And all of them, I'm noticing, women.
Many auditions to take over roles from my peers.
Just noticing a little bit of a pattern here.
Another fellow actor.
I'm not seeing any men chiming in on this sort of thing. Of course, then again, the male voice actors, for the most part, probably had the good sense to just shut up about it. But clucking hens are gonna cluck, I suppose.
And Karina Boetker saying, this wasn't a passing of the torch. Karina being the English voice of Paimon in Genshin Impact, and someone that will be coming back to later in this video, as Karina also made other statements relating to the situation that many people in the Genshin fandom are pointing...
I have to wonder what it must be like for her, knowing that her voice is so incredibly annoying, and has contributed to the character of Paimon being the most disliked character in all of the Hoyoverse franchises. I mean, her voice is already that insufferable. And now we're seeing more of her offstage behavior in public. And turns out, oh, there's a reason she sounds so insufferable. Because she is.
Pointing out and exposing for immense hypocrisy. But yeah, these
it all makes sense.
Voice actors upset with Jacob go on and on. For example, here's another one. Ruben Lack saying...
Oh. Okay, well, apparently some of the lads don't know how to shut the fuck up about this.
Dude, really classless move considering an actor was fighting for AI protections on this job. I appreciate folks want the paycheck, but they should know crossing a picket line is an immediate and permanent...
Everyone, chat, I said it yesterday, I will say it again. Asmongold is right. If you're an artist, this has not been a good week for you, this has not been a good past couple of years for you, and it's only going to get worse. So you can either learn to incorporate AI into your till belt, or you can go learn to trade. Go learn to be a plumber. Go learn to be a pipe fitter, pipe layer. Go learn to be a bricklayer. Learn how to fix up old cars. But even new cars. Go learn a trade because you're going to need it at this point. Or hope to God that you find enough wealthy patrons to keep your gravy train going. People should go through the route of using a stage name so they don't get heckled. Yeah, I know, a fun little bit of trivia. With the exception of David Hayter, the entire voice cast of Metal Gear Solid, all of those names are stage names. Which they used because I don't think they had SAG-AFTRA approval or something on that. They didn't have the blessing of the unions on the English VA project. And so they, everyone had to change the name, except for David Hayter. He started out as Sean Barker in one of the demos, but then changed it back. But yeah, I mean, that's always one thing they could do, but I don't know. All of this harassment is just... It's just going too far. John Lee, thank you for redeeming first, and also not first, also hello. A black mark from who? The arseholes that are fucking everything up for everyone?
Black mark. Another voice actor, Louis Bermudez, saying, "My hope is you were misled and weren't fully aware that John was withholding his work to fight for a better future for actors everywhere. If that's the case, you have the opportunity to do the funniest thing right now. But if not, and you continue in this role, yikes, man." It's also not just English VAs leaving negative comments to Jacob, but also various union supporters in general. For example, this response to Jacob's statement reading, "Let's call it what it is. You're an effing scab." However, there's also a lot of comments defending Jacob. For example, the comment there in the center reading, "Y'all harassing him should realize that he's working from Japan. The strike is only happening in America. He's not under the strike in any shape or form just because he does VA work in English."
Yeah. That's jurisdiction counts for these sorts of things. And frankly, I think more companies, more of the devs in Southeast Asia should be looking to English language VAs that are living there in Japan, living in Hong Kong, living in South Korea, places like that. See what they can find there. I know for a long time there was this just 24 karat gold level of quality with the Hong Kong-based English VAs that would quite often be used by companies like Toho and Golden Harvest to dub their films. A lot of those people, I believe, are still working. They are still turning out great work, and they should be considered for this sort of thing, because they would likely be a damn sight more professional about it than anything stateside. Oh, Jacob Takanashi is a Twitch partner. You know what? All the more reason to go support him.
And other comments like, "Why pile on the guy? He's a VA based in Japan. They have different labor laws in there. And congrats on your new role. Warning you now that fandoms can be toxic, and apparently other VAs too. Don't give in." While I do think any Genshin fan would admit that the Genshin fandom can be toxic, it's really interesting because in this particular situation, it seems like the Genshin fandom...
Look, I enjoy playing Hoyoverse games. I like playing Genshin Impact. We had a fun time despite my frustrations with some of the gameplay last Thursday with Ruby and Jedi. That said, yes, fandoms can be insane, crazed, and yeah, it's just like I don't want to be near that. Kinich. What about the EU? They're not so bad from what I can see from reverse 1999, though. I don't know how they are like on SMS. I don't know. I mean, look. I will always stand up for and promote the use of British voice actors and Irish voice actors. I think that they are wonderful talents, many of whom started out studying and playing parts in the classics like Shakespeare. I believe that the accents of the English, the Welsh, the Scottish, the Irish, I mean, I'm a bit biased, but I do believe they are the most beautiful accents in the world. And their voices carry with them a natural sort of gravitas. I mean, it's undeniable. People tend to pay attention to someone who has an accent like that. The only thing that would really concern me is if dubbing studios in the UK and in EU countries started acting like the BBC and demanding a lot of the sort of DEI nonsense that we've come to see, especially in a lot of programming through outlets like BBC and ITV. I guess a preference over American versus British VA. I don't trust the studios across the pond and on the continent to not pull that sort of bullshit with DEI and all of the virtue signaling and clout chasing that's come to be expected from a lot of the so-called mainstream media outlets over there. They still put out a lot of quality content. Most of the good stuff makes it over to other markets, but it's still sort of tainted by that very rootless cosmopolitan leftist worldview of, you know, we have to have certain quotas of certain diversity quotas and blah blah blah. So I don't really trust them to not try and fuck that up.
Them at large is actually defending Jacob, and we'll get to that when we hop over to the Genshin subreddit in a moment. First, we'll get some more additional context. That takes us over to John Patnoid. Hopefully I said that right. This is the voice actor who got replaced by Jacob. John says, "Hey everyone. If you've been playing the latest 5.5 update in Genshin Impact and you were hearing Kinnick speak for the first time in 6 months, it's not my voice. I've been recast. I've been withholding voiceover services during the SAG after interactive strike because Hoyo/Cognosphere would not offer AI protections in the form of a SAG interim agreement." Now let's pause there real quick because this is something a lot of people are taking issue with, specifically how it comes off like these union voice actors and executives are conveniently leaving things out and really only telling the public certain bits of information.
Yeah, you've done an individual work stoppage. In other words, you're a no-show at work. This isn't even a proper strike. You're just failing to show up to work. And you go talk to a bunch of old-school union men, and even they will tell you, yeah, that's indefensible. That's not what a union's here for. We're not defending that. Yeah, they're self-quitting. They're quiet quitting without the quiet part.
and simultaneously trying to have all the public support them as if they're entitled to the public supporting their cause no matter what. Especially with
They're
how
not.
these negotiations may negatively impact non-union voice actors, and all this has been costing the union voice actors support. A lot of people are no longer willing to support the union VAs. And as has been a recurring theme throughout this video so far, that's something else we'll also be getting into more details about in a moment once we get through the rest of this context. So back to the statement. John says, they'd kept my character's dialogue silent for months, all the while I had to make the difficult decision to continue not going in until an interim agreement was signed, and this ultimately was why I was recast. Now obviously a recast is not what I wanted. I'd hoped that any progress behind the scenes would be made, and I could come back safely, or that if recast auditions went out, my colleagues wouldn't read for them. Unfortunately, I was wrong. I absolutely adored playing Kinnick. Genshin was my comfort game during the early parts of the pandemic, and it was a dream of mine to book a playable character. At the time, I didn't have an agent, didn't live in LA, or had any connections that would get me close. But 4 years later, I did it, and the messages I've received from you all, saying how much my performance as Kinnick meant to you, made my heart swell. I would and can return if Hoyo...
And then you just went and fucked it all up for yourself, didn't you? I mean, you can tug on the heartstrings of people all you like. The fact is, there's... And don't talk to me about an interactive strike. This is... No. No. Your members either vote to strike in general or they don't. This is... Yeah, self-firing, yeah.
Hoyo invites me back and signs an interim. I stand by my choices regardless of the outcome.
They're not going to do that. Hoyo is not going to do that. You're dealing with a Chinese company. It is a different world over there. They have different ways of doing things.
Also, the strike is still ongoing. Please don't believe this information on the internet. My best wishes to the cast and the
Again, this is not a strike. This is not a proper strike. A strike is where all of your members come together and vote, and they all just... I'm sorry, what the fuck even is an interactive strike? These are words without meaning. Yeah, my heartstrings can't be tugged anymore. My kindness has been exploited too many times. Yeah, same here. This is a global company you're talking about, in an entirely different jurisdiction from Hollywood and from New York. You don't work, you don't get paid, and eventually they'll just fire you and replace you, which is exactly what's happened here. This bloke should not delude himself into thinking that he's some sort of martyr for workers' rights or anything like that, because he's not. And if anything, his union is leading him down the road to ruin.
Production team, thank you for everything, JD.
Word salad,
right,
man.
With all that
yeah.
context, that takes us over to the Genshin Impact subreddit, as previously mentioned. In this post reading, Kaching's VA, Kaching being a character from Genshin, used their character to attack Kinnick's new VA. Are we just going to accept this nonsense? Kinnick's new VA, Jacob Takanashi, is currently being bullied by some VAs, including those who voiced Genshin characters like Paimon's VA, Karina, and Kaching's VA, Kaylee Mills. In Jacob's announcement post, Kaylee Mills attacked Jacob for accepting the job. When someone disagreed with her, she said, "I guarantee you Kaching would be doing the work to educate people and do what's best for the people." What do you think about this? I feel bad for Kinnick's new VA. He's just doing his job. He's not a US VA. Here's his post. As of recording, that post
Sympathy? Look in a dictionary. It should be between shit and syphilis.
over on Reddit, collecting over 4,200 upvotes and over 1,800 comments. The top comment on that post saying, "Wish she talked this much when people called her out for supporting Mosey's old VA, who is a sexual abuser." She supported him? She supported him in 2020 when he posted his statement, then congratulated him when his role was announced. She doubled down here. Apparently, another one of his supporters, Sam's VA from HSR, Honkai Star Rail, is also one of the current VAs targeting Jacob right now. Funny how that's a correlation they both have. It's seriously starting to look like a clique, or some sort of Nepo circle, to be honest.
That's because it is. That's because a lot of these VA circles are exactly like that. It's either a clique or it's a Nepo circle. Or both. It's a very small club, and you're not in it.
That's a very reasonable assessment, and something a lot of anime and gaming fans came to realize, especially around 2019, as the whole situation with Vic and Funimation et al. Put a giant spotlight on the corrupt and cliquey part of the industry. Another set of top comments reading, "Man, what the frick is going on with English VAs?" Same as always. Not even Zenless Zone Zero and Honkai Star Rail VAs were very supportive of the new VAs that replaced former ones, who also were fired from the strike. Genshin VAs are incredibly petty and acting like a clique now, not a professional look. I learned my lesson after the Bayonetta fiasco. They're all a bunch of drama queens. What do you mean? Bayonetta's original VA lied about the studio trying to screw her pay for the third game and asked fans to boycott it. Until they being the studio, showed receipts and proved she was making it up. That situation was crazy. She literally tried to get the internet to be her personal army, and then it came out that she was basically lying to people according to my recollection, and was completely in the wrong. That
An actress lying, color me shocked.
takes us to a number of top comments, specifically calling out Paimon's voice actor as well, for hypocrisy, and as further evidence for how cliquey the English voice actors are, how they'll choose some people to go after, but give others a pass. For example,
Paimon's VA pissing me off the most.
This comment reading, "Paimon's VA is pissing me off the most. Technically I'm scabbing, but it's okay because I'm autistic and have to pay my bills."
Oh, so it's okay when you do it, but when anyone else does it, then it becomes a problem.
Like what? You don't know what the frick is going on in anybody's life but your own. He could be disabled, he being Jacob Takanashi. His mom could have cancer. He could be trying to feed his dang kids, or heaven forbid, he could have nothing going on and just wants a paycheck, and you know what? That's his business and no one else's. Let him be proud to be a part of such a big, successful project and stop being such a hypocrite.
Here. Classic pounding of the table there, rather than clapping of hands. Though I think I set the dog off with that one.
Different top post on our Genshin Impact saying Paimon, Kaching, and Cabaret's VAs responding to Jacob Takanashi, Kinnick's new VA. I kind of feel bad for Kinnick's new VA. And showing a number of tweets from the aforementioned voice actors saying negative things about Jacob Takanashi. Many of those we already went over earlier in the video, so let's skip to the comments. This one saying, "Oh wow, even Hoothouse VA is going after the new guy." And showing this screenshot, we haven't seen this one yet. This VA Brianna responding to John, the prior VA for Kinnick's statement, which we read earlier, saying, "Thank you for standing strong and holding the line with us. You're a real one."
Where's she getting her money? Well, thank you for being unemployed and possibly broke and a loser with the rest of us. Where's the honor in that?
Clears throat. Some of us, SMFH. But if we take a look at the comments in response to her, they're pretty much all against her. For
At this point, companies...
example, going through this just from the top. At this point, companies should just give up on English voice actors whatsoever. It worked for Snowbreak, it can work for all of them. And side note, if you're not familiar with the...
How do people not work and make a living? Baffles my mind.
Snowbreak thing, I did go over that briefly at the end of the video I mentioned at the start of this one regarding my last coverage of this English VA stuff, so consider checking that out for more info on that. Other comments like, "Y'all are pieces of garbage, man. Gotta love the hypocrisy and self-righteousness. Honestly, seeing some of the other VAs attack someone for taking a job, I hope you all get recast."
Yeah, frankly, at this point, I do hope that AI ends up taking these insufferable people's jobs. Because that would be more preferable to this just absolute prima donna behavior.
Yeah, there's just dozens and dozens of comments roasting this VA, but I don't want to get too sidetracked from the Paimon stuff.
It's totally upset the majority of characters in Genshin are muted for many versions before, but seeing a bunch of you English VAs act today I no longer have any sympathy towards you guys. Can't wait for the characters to get new voices by non-union VAs. Pull the ladder out from behind you. Go right ahead. Crazy how fast you can lose all the respect you had for the person. Can't believe you're bullying fellow VAs. Get off your horse. Yep, that's very low. Hope you get recast. Didn't Snowbreak just ask the English dubs due to the VA behavior? I think that's what they're referring to, yeah. I don't know all the details about it, but I believe that's what happened. They were just like, yeah, fuck this shit. We're done. No more English dubs.
Stuff, because there's actually still a lot more to go over regarding that part of the whole thing. For example, back over on...
There wasn't a demand and budget for it. Yeah. Sort of like how Yakuza games were for a long time. They didn't have the budget to go out and hire English-speaking voice actors to dub over the lines, so they just kept it as Japanese dialogue only with English subtitles. That isn't a win for VAs, that just shrank the job market. You're right, it's not a win for the VAs, and you're also correct that it shrank the job market, and it is because of the bad behavior of English VAs. So they lost, and they shrunk the job market for everyone. So, all the more reason to very strongly dislike them for that.
On Reddit, this comment with over 1,800 upvotes saying, "How nice of Karina, Paimon's VA, to support VAs not getting paid while cashing a check every patch. Also, while having the most lines means most likely getting paid the most. Like, aren't they the #1 person with the most influence and pull if they striked? Stroked? Struck." There are many other top comments over on Reddit calling out Karina, but let's hop back over to Twitter.
Oh god, she's
There are
hideous.
various comments on Twitter calling Karina out directly, to which Karina even responded. In this exchange, we can see where Karina had said to Jacob Takanashi, "This wasn't a passing of the torch." And this user Luminescence saying, "And you working on it is still good for the strike? Like, make it make sense." Karina then responded with this set of tweets saying, "No, you're right, I am technically scabbing. I originally have this role, and technically I can still work this role. I am a disabled person, and this is the job that puts food on my table, as I actually record this role year-round. But I didn't take this role from another person who was striking. I had this role, and I am stuck in it because I have no other way to pay my medical bills."
And you expect us to have sympathy for you for all of this? Why? What? To me, this is just at this point, if you're going to behave like this, and then all of a sudden try to tug on the heartstrings because more autism or whatever, yeah, I'm just going to respond with, skill issue, bruv. Have you tried getting good? Because this all just sounds like a you problem. And also, what the fuck is with this profile pic? It looks like a very poorly made avatar in the reality app, which it probably is. Some English VAs, which is the worst part. I mean, it's the old adage, one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. All it takes is one to ruin it for everyone.
But yes, technically I am a scab, and you're right, I don't deserve any praise right now. I don't deserve any of it. I deserve to be told off just like this actor, so please do. No one should look up to me. I'm trapped and a coward because I continue this job because if not, I end up homeless.
Oh, please. You can go sack groceries at your local green grocer. You can go to any fast food franchise and start flipping burgers and asking people if they want fries with that. Yeah, holy victim mentality, Batman.
I don't say that because I deserve sympathy. I don't.
Well, on that we agree. You don't deserve sympathy. Not with the way you're acting.
The ones sticking to the picket line deserve all the praise, not me. I love voicing...
She's saying all of this and it just seems so disingenuous. It's like, we know you're saying this to try and deflect criticism and to try to in before your critics. That's all this is. You're just in buffering.
Paimon, love it. I've been through so much that you guys will never truly understand. But I also know what I am, and I should not be given any applause for this. If I could feasibly stick the line with my fellow actors, I would. This job actually barely keeps me alive. But that doesn't mean that it makes it different. It is not a good thing to my fellow actor that I continue to work on this game. I have struggled with that since the strike started.
And how do you know that Jacob Takahashi doesn't have the same feelings? But still, it's okay when you do it because more autism. But he's a family man. He's got a spouse, probably has children. He's got hungry mouths to feed. But oh no, that's apparently wrong. Why? Because he's a man? Maybe that's the real issue here. He's a loving father and a family man, and you just can't stand that. And you think that somehow he deserves less sympathy because of it. I bet if we were to drill deep down, give them long enough to cough up enough of a word salad, we'd eventually get them to admit that. I'm with the virtue signaling, but I need to eat too. Yeah, it's like, tell me this is all performative without telling me this is all performative. Asha Silverwings, welcome in. I see it's your first time chat. Welcome, welcome. The whole ENVA situation is such a mess. It really is. And it's a mess of their own making. It's like you're either on strike or you're not. And if you are on strike, know that you will probably be replaced. And you will probably not be getting that job back. That's just the risk you take. I think the issue is one holding out got replaced instead of the company caving to demands. And they're not going to cave to demands. Hoyoverse is one of the most valuable companies in all of China. They have all the money in the world to throw at their games. And to their credit, they actually do make some fairly decent games that end up making their companies a lot of money. So they're the ones that are really holding all the cards here. You think they give a damn if some American actors union goes on strike? They're like, they'll just look at that and say, okay, we're a Chinese company, this doesn't apply to us. Oh, you want to go on strike? Okay, you're fired. Get someone else in, replace them. Found you through YouTube VOD, by the way, nice to catch you live. Well, thank you so much, Asha. That really is gratifying to hear that the YouTube VODs are having that effect. So I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much. And yeah, thank you for letting me know that the VODs and the shorter clips from stream and everything that they're doing the job. That's really good to hear. It's not about the people involved, except the original actor trying to get more money.
So call me out for this. Please, I deserve it. If it means we get closer to making things better, then so be it. The top
Spank me harder, Daddy.
response to Karina saying, so what? Many disabled people work remotely in other professions. Voice acting is not your only option if it puts you in such an unethical position.
Yeah, hold it. Good on them for using Alinsky tactics against them. Hold them up to their own standards. Make them live up to their own standards.
But you have to seek attention on Twitter.com like a 16-year-old and present yourself like a saint in the whole community. Karina responding saying, I definitely don't present myself as a saint, but you don't know my disability and what I am able to do. Same way you don't know any other VA situations either. Imagine someone shamed you for just trying to make ends meet, which at this point may as well be warranted.
Yeah, Karina, You will never watch this stream, I'm sure. But if you happen to catch a clip of this, if someone happens to clip this, do yourself a favor, love. Delete your account. Delete your ex account. Get off the internet, go outside, touch grass for a bit, get some sunshine. And stop posting stupid shit like this on the internet. You're embarrassing yourself. And nobody's going to want to work with you after this. I know I damn well wouldn't want to work with you either, if you're going to be this much of a pain in the arse about it. They don't hold family people in high regard as the most likely a part of the alphabet mafia. Yeah? I mean, let's go back here for a sec. Oh. Got the watermelon. Don't know what that means. Also, why the hell does she have the handles Zulu and Lima? The fuck is that?
Imagine someone shamed you for just trying to make ends meet, which at this point may as well be warranted. There's also a difference between taking a role quietly and bragging about getting
watermelon are the colors of Palestine. Ah. Yeah, so definitely a supporter of the current thing.
When the other VA was recast for striking. He wasn't even aware of the situation. He lives in Japan. Y'all are so out of touch. So let me know what you think about the Karina stuff. Do you think Karina's response was good, that the points are fair? Or do you think it's an example of hypocrisy from these voice actors? Or perhaps something else? Moving on to the next VA, that takes us back to Shara Kirby in this post that says, Shara Kirby, Candace VA, opinion on Hoyo and Genshin's fanbase. This once again being the VA who allegedly left a comment on my video, where Shara Kirby is apparently over on Blue Sky saying, in response to Jacob Takanashi's announcement post, this gotta be the most classless thing I've seen with everything going on.
The only classless thing here, darling, is your post on Blue Sky.
Have fun with Genshin. You'll never work.
Might not be Alphabet Mafia, but absolutely a professional victim. Oh, yes.
On anything else, LMFAO. It's also interesting how they're recording in Japan for English dub now. Wow, cool. Go a bed and recast me too while you're at it.
Go a bed? What the fuck?
Hoyo, disrespectfully. Because let's be frank, who's gonna be me over a video game that underpays its performers and is actively farming their voices so that they don't have to hire real people? I do hope it was worth it, truly I do. You'll never catch me singing that company or any company that operates that way to a simple request of protecting the talents they hired. Singing praises for, sorry, not sorry, I rage quit. One more thing.
Yes, obviously.
Never dealt with a fan base as callous and as annoying as the Genshin fan base, who would go so far as to berate the voice actors, who only want better protections and rates for being rightful.
They don't give a shit. Nobody gives a shit. Just shut up and put out the product. You want more pay? Do more gigs. Or go start a business and doing something. Or put out some sort of shitcoin with a rug pull. For legal reasons, that's a joke. Quick, attack everyone to prove you're right.
Upset that someone publicly scabbed. Just insanity. The only other one I've dealt with like this is the Murder Drones fanbase, and only one of those doxed me. I'm not in the business of arguing and fighting with children. I'm gonna delete some of that thread later, because this is a semi-professional page. But TLDR, don't talk to me about Genshin Impact ever again. KK. Top.
Everyone should just go into her comments and say, hey, how about that Genshin Impact, eh? You've just revealed you have a button that can be pushed.
Comments to that post reading, the United States isn't the only place where English is spoken well. Also, there are US citizens across the world right now working remotely. I'm confused too, since when English becoming exclusive to US and US only?
Yes. You Americans in the audience, I know I have an audience that is comprised of many, many Americans. I'm sure you realize that there is more of the English-speaking world than just the United States. So, how is it that there are people So stupid as to think that English is somehow exclusive to the United States. Genshin Stream. It's sort of like that one time there was that trend of troll responses of "Nah, he trippin'." Really, they should. People should just spam a replies with "Genshin Stream when?" Oh, that would be so amusing to just needle her like that.
Apparently, Hoyo's characters are theirs and only theirs to voice. They just forgot to notify Hoyo about that. Another top comment in that exchange saying, "Well, that's one of the most unprofessional resignations I've ever seen. If I was a voice caster for any other field of work, I'd probs not hire her based on this alone. It's so unprofessional and going into unhinged territory. Honestly, I won't be surprised if Hoyo is now gathering all this to bring all of them to the negotiating table and have a word with what they just said regarding Jacob. Those may be personal accounts, but I imagine Hoyo doesn't want a bunch of VAs going around starting a civil war with other VAs and make it look like Hoyo's VAs are some cult."
Even though that's exactly what they're acting like. As someone who unfortunately lives in the US, it baffles me how people are just uneducated in the most simple things. That, unfortunately, as far as the English-speaking world, is not confined to the United States. It sadly is epidemic in the United Kingdom and other English-speaking countries as well.
There's a pretty well understood line where your personal account ends, and it's right around where you start bad-mouthing the company that pays your salary, lol. It's one thing if these VAs were trashing on each other, purely on principle, but they're literally name-dropping the game and the company, and that's a huge no-no in any job. It reflects poorly on the company. Hope she's prepared to explain these tweets to her future employers. This is just hot air. There's no way they actually put their money where their mouth is and resign. Doesn't matter, because that statement is basically all Hoyo needs to get her to never voice for them ever again. Whether she wants to backtrack or not, this can be considered a surefire resignation in Hoyo point of view, due to the atrocious...
Yeah, I mean, if I were an executive at Hoyo, I'd be reaching out to them and saying, yeah, these posts on social media, are you serious about all this? And if they grandstand and effectively say, well, yes, I was, it's like, oh, okay. Well, that sounds like you've just handed in your resignation then. Goodbye. I wonder if there are curated blacklists in some companies that use VAs that look into social media posts. I'm sure they do. It would not surprise me. Fired before even applying. Education system is very lacking, not going to lie, both in America and Canada, and in the UK, and in parts of Western Europe.
Mannerisms and statements made by her. Yep, she basically burned every single bridge of possibility that she'll ever get cast in a Hoyoverse game ever again. And I'm sure there'll be some game companies that see this as well, and would prefer not to take in a VA this volatile in their games. What a way to sabotage your VA career. Essentially, the entire post is criticizing her.
Western
Let
nations.
me know what you think about that part of the situation. And finally, we'll take a look at some public reception for the SAG AFTRA agreement overall. On a post about the agreement terms, we see top comments like this. Bruh. So if Hoyo is forced to sign, all non-union VAs are effectively forced to join the union in a month or else, which would limit them to only American VAs, giving the union a monopoly over the English voice acting in all the affected projects.
Oh, that is all levels of wrong there. I'm sorry, but I do not support monopolies. Monopolies are the worst thing that could ever happen in any sort of marketplace. Because a monopoly just invites mediocrity. It stifles innovation. It stifles progress.
I know it's Reddit, but countries other than America exist. Not necessarily only American VAs, but SAG actors, the majority of which are American. It's semantic, but non-Americans can join SAG if they work in the US. Many VAs don't want to join a mafia organization. The mafia is asking for membership protection fees plus continuous fees. It sucks every money from VA. Meanwhile, all the union VAs are crying about being misinfo when someone points this out.
Except it's not misinformation. Just because it's embarrassing to you does not mean it's misinformation.
They're doing the "it's us or them." They pick themselves. They're more than willing to screw over non-union VAs, because why do they get to make money while I'm jobless?
Well, maybe if you didn't blindly follow your union off a cliff, you would find that, oh, I have a job. I'm making money.
Even though studios like Studio Cadence, ZZZ, have non-AI clause and supports negotiations about AI with SAG, yet these VAs kept pushing AI as an issue to sign the agreement.
You know, Studio Cadence is going to the bargaining table in good faith. This, to me, is starting to sound like SAG is just negotiating in bad faith. Lemmings, yeah. Must be the power dynamic. Monopolies seem to have the same effect as communism and socialism. They really do. The fact my brother somehow managed to go through all the way to high school graduation without being held back baffles me. He's not the brightest, what I had to be held back on separate occasions and make up through summer school. I had to do some summer terms myself. Thankfully, in the real world, people aren't going to look at your report card. They're not going to ask what sort of grades you make in university or high school. They're not even going to ask where did you go to university, because they don't really care. Most places, they just want to see the piece of paper. And a lot of places these days, they don't even care about that.
Bold to assume that the kind of people who go online and harass a colleague are actually smart people. I bet that 80% didn't even read or grasp what they are striking for, but just get the TLDR from their agent/agency. Interestingly enough, some union voice actors are attempting to say that the union actually does care about non-union actors. For example, in this tweet by Koi Dao,
no, they don't.
During the strike,
where's the incentive?
Has expressed they want to help non-union actors keep their jobs and are willing to negotiate a waiver for the must-join rule for any project that needs
willing to negotiate. I mean, that's one of the things of a join rule. You can't be a little bit pregnant. You either join or you don't. Standards are being lowered so people don't get angry. And we can't let people get angry. Oh no. Can't have that now, can we? Thankfully, but it's a high indicator of how well you retain knowledge and apply. Maybe. I don't know, I think that even that's debatable these days. Because it's never the individual's fault. No, never.
But this person, Lynn, responds, saying, I don't know. I remember the video from the SAG guy who said non-union VAs are lesser than union VAs, which was deleted after the backlash. So I can't really believe they want to help the non-unions, lol. Once again, we have Karina Bodiger here saying, you mean the one—
Oh, look who's back, everyone. The insufferable woman with an opinion that nobody asked for.
One that wasn't even said during this strike. Keep up, this is a different strike now. Also, the entire union screaming—
oh yeah, this time it's different. This is a different strike. That was the old strike. This is the new strike.
For that. To give you additional context, I believe it was Duncan Crabtree—
I know, the entire union, we want you to know, they screamed at him for that. Not over what he said, but you fucking imbecile. How dare you say the quiet part out loud?
Ireland, the National Executive Director and Chief Negotiator for SAG-AFTRA, who made those disparaging remarks towards non-union actors, specifically saying that they're quote-unquote lesser quality. So while some union members gave him backlash on social media for those remarks, doesn't seem like there's any serious action taken against him. It seems like he still has that top executive position. And furthermore, it seems like his position at the union is getting him a salary of over $1 million a year.
Over $1 million in 2023. And the only thing he's being yelled about is saying the quiet part out loud. An opinion I maintain is people are conditioned to look outward for everything, fault and validation. It's never your fault, and everyone else needs to validate your actions. Yeah, and true strength comes when you realize and integrate the knowledge and belief that you don't have a right to validation. No one is obligated to validate your actions. Caveat of me redoing my course was I wasn't satisfied with my grade, average A student. Ah, so a perfectionist then. But that was your choice.
Lastly, on SAG-AFTRA's own website, they have a section dedicated to talking about financial court. A brief summary of financial court reads, financial court refers to a legal carve-out that permits workers opposed to participating in a labor union to be employed under the benefits of a union's contracts without compelling them to be a member of that union.
What is the point of that then?
In which SAG-AFTRA says, financial core members are viewed as scabs or anti-union by SAG-AFTRA members, directors, and writers, most of whom also belong to entertainment unions. And as you surely know, scab is used as a derogatory term for people who are not a part of the union or who cross picket lines, etc., etc. The point is, while some union members attempt to say that SAG-AFTRA really does care about people who are not a part of the union, it seems like the union's own actions and terms, as well as this whole situation recently with a number of union VAs and how they've treated Jacob, has caused many people to be skeptical, to say the least. But anyways, let me know what you think about this stuff in the comments. Hope you enjoyed my coverage, and if you did, please consider liking and or subscribing. Appreciate ya, and I'll see you in the next one.
That's getting a thumbs up. That's good content. Very well done by Hiro Hey. Caveat of me redoing... I skated through high school with a B average. Teacher was absolutely incompetent. Happy with a new teacher. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I think I was more of a low B, high C level student in terms of my high school grades. Did much better at university, but I was not a good student from primary school up to high school. I hated every minute. School just felt like a prison for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you never miss an update. If you have any thoughts, questions, or ideas for future videos, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. You can also follow me on Twitter @LordRexworth for more updates and behind-the-scenes content. And if you want to support the channel, check out my Ko-fi or Throne pages. Links are in the description. Finally, be sure to visit LordRexworth.com and follow me across all platforms. That's LordRexworth.com. Until next time, I wish you all the best, and God bless.